On October 31st, 1517, Martin Luther nailed 95 theses to the door of the Wittenberg Church, challenging an oppressive theological perspective and attempting to set right unjust practices in the church. In some ways, Luther was actually defending the church, hoping for constructive discussion to help the church be true church, to help the people know a loving God. Luther had no intention of leaving the church even in its current state, but in his own personal life experience, he found no comfort in the church's teaching and practice. He was assailed by an almost tangible, visible devil, threatening to overwhelm him, tearing him from the love of God. Luther knew neither the steadfast comfort of a loving God nor a strong assurance that nothing could separate him from the love of God. In his search for peace of mind and soul, Luther discovered the grace of God, grace revealed to Luther through serious study and reflection on Scripture, as he struggled to find a theological perspective, religious practices, and an expression of faith that could touch his soul, satisfy his longing, make cognitive sense, and lead him to a spirituality that could sustain his life, providing meaning and guidance through all the ups and downs of day-to-day existence. In discovering the grace of God, Luther became immersed in an ongoing relationship with divine love, a loving relationship, abiding and constant, unwavering and sure, ever present no matter what. Luther discovered that nothing, not even we ourselves, could end the divine relationship with us. Nothing could separate us from the love of God. In the joy of this wonderful discovery, Luther wanted to share what he had found. He wanted to bring leaders of the church and the people of the church to see what they were missing, correct errors and bad practices impeding the work of God in the world, oppressing the people of God, rather than setting them free in the freedom of the living Christ and the ongoing movement of the Spirit in the world. Luther had no plan of leaving the church. He thought they might want to hear the good news he had found, good news changing his life, good news ready to change the church, good news to change the whole people of God. Luther didn't plan to start a new faith tradition. He didn't plan to start a new church. He didn't plan to start a new denomination. But he had discovered something new, a new way of being in the world, a new way of experiencing the holy in his life, a new way of being in relationship with God. And even though it cut against the established belief and practice of the day, Luther was called to expand the church's vision, calling many things into question, paving the way out of debilitating oppression into the liberating way of the living Christ. Luther followed the leading of the Spirit in his life, and a Reformation movement was born, ushering in a whole new understanding of our relationship to a God who is divine love. The Syrophoenician woman probably had no plans to create a big scene, no thought of confronting and countering Jesus, no idea that she was about to take on this popular itinerant rabbi, or the ingrained societal norms of the day, or a limited understanding of the expansive love and grace of God. She just wanted to help her child, daring to approach this healing power in hopes her daughter will be healed, and they'll go on living her life quietly with some degree of joy and peace. This woman doesn't realize she's about to be rebuffed by the teacher healer, whose reputation is spreading through the region. She has no way of knowing, simply by acting on her love for her daughter, that she, a foreigner, one on the outside, a woman, one of the lowest in society, will expand Jesus' horizons, broadening his vision of the ministry to which God has called him, deepening his understanding of the expansiveness of God's love. When this woman, in desperation, first makes a request of Jesus, Jesus doesn't even acknowledge her. The disciples complain, "Send her away. She's a nuisance. She's annoying us. She just won't leave. Finally, very Jewish Jesus, whose faith tradition honors and welcomes the sojourner in their midst, the foreigner living among them, this Jesus tells the woman his mission is only to the Jewish people. When she pleads for help, Jesus said it isn't right to help her, and basically calls her a dog. I'm not making this up. That's what the text says. And even though many have tried very hard to sanitize these reported words of Jesus, it's pretty hard to sanitize. When the woman says to Jesus, even the dogs under the table get to eat the scraps, Jesus, confronted by her faith, heals the woman's daughter, coming to understand his ministry in a broader sense, realizing the love of God expands far beyond the former limits Jesus has set. And Matthew uses this story to say that the gospel is for all the world. The Syrophoenician woman is a reformer, expanding Jesus' vision, a woman who loves her daughter and knows something of the expansive reach of divine love. On August 12th, 1926, in Shreveport, Louisiana, a baby girl was born. She grew up, married, and entered the corporate world. Along the way, there were some geographic moves, but up the corporate ladder, not nearly as many moves as there should have been. Esther was an excellent employee who over the years trained in many, many people, a great many of them men, sending them successfully on their way up the corporate ladder. Women in the company also were nurtured by Esther, and on her wall hangs a plaque that says, "The world's best mother hen from the women of Allstate." The Spirit moves in mysterious ways in our lives. Sometimes we wander a little before we step out into the call God has for us. Sometimes it takes a while for all that has come before in our lives to be shaped into a clear calling for our future. One day, Esther's boss told her she was the one he should promote, but he couldn't. It wouldn't be accepted in the company. They expected men to be in these positions. In due time, and perhaps not too much due time, Esther resigned. She left her job and stepped out of the corporate world. After 2 or 3 years of being full-time wife to engineer husband Ed, attending parties, hosting dinners, engaging in social events and cocktail conversations, Esther became very clear this was not her cup of tea. Not the way she was spending the rest of her life, not the task to which God was calling her. So she sort of resigned from the social party scene to begin what became a full-time job as a church volunteer in the local church, on the Presbyterian synod levels, and at the national level of the PCUSA General Assembly, bringing all the knowledge and skills she had gained in the corporate world to her new job.